I am sure you've heard by now, but there is a jury selected for the Karen Read trial. Today is Easter Sunday. This trial starts on Tuesday, and they decided late last week, they finalized the jury. There were 18 people selected. There's 9 men, 9 women. Now, there will be only 12 that actually go into the jury room to deliberate at the close of the case. But they picked 18. Every one of them will sit there through the entire trial. Among them, they don't know who will be a deliberating juror and who is just an alternate. So they will all sit there for the entire trial. And then after closing arguments, they're told, you are the 12 that go in the room. According to local reporter Christina Rex, this is directly from one of her videos, she said this jury selection took 10 days. And they brought in a pool of 591 people before they could get to this 18. So very widely publicized case. It was very hard to find people who not only had heard something about the case, but would have a hard time not being biased about their decision. There's been a number of motions that they're trying to settle between the two sides. And so I'm going to give you kind of my best sort of uneducated, non-legal opinion about what these motions are. First one, the defense filed opposition to the Commonwealth's intent to hire or bring in an independent reader. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to bring in somebody who's kind of unfamiliar with the case or unfamiliar with the text messages and just come in and read the text messages that Karen would have sent to John O'Keefe. Now, because Karen isn't testifying, so she can't read the text messages herself. If you remember back in the first trial, everybody who sent text messages were responsible for reading their own text messages, right? You remember Proctor up there, you remember Matt McCabe up there. They read their own texts. Karen's not testifying. So what they wanted someone to come in and read her texts. Now, the opposition to that, of course, is very strong because once you put a voice to something that's not oral communication, so text messages are written communication, just like letters or notes or whatever, it needs to be put into the record. But in the first trial, Officer Garino, who's the one that did the data dump out of Karen's phone, he was the one that read them all and submitted them into the record. There is no need to kind of act it out and give it a voice because that could be biased to the jury to hear it in a woman's voice, or what if there's inflection or anger or whatever in the reader's voice, that would bias the jury. So that's the defense's claim. And I 100% agree with that. And I guess if the Commonwealth wanted to have readers for Karen's texts, then I'm all for let's have readers for everybody's texts, because I don't think that Michael Proctor sit there mumbling under his breath, no nudes so far. Well, yeah, she's fucked. I mean, if you're going to have readers, let's bring in somebody who can really capture the nuance of that ignorant, ball-scratching Neanderthal when he's calling Karen the C word in his texts. Let's have those read too. Essentially, long and short of it is the defense is saying, listen, you can't reenact something that never took place. You can't bring in voices to read this conversation that was never a conversation. It was text messages that went back and forth. That's not live dialogue, and it was never an oral conversation. So I think they've got a pretty good argument here. Now, there's another whole kind of slew of outstanding motions, and these are all from the defense. And a lot of this stems from the lack of discovery. So in the first trial, and by the way, in every trial, there's always accusations that the prosecutors are withholding evidence or conversations or things like that from the defense. The defense has an absolute right under our Constitution to understand the entire case against them. It's called discovery. They get everything. So every witness you're going to talk to, what they're going to talk about, every bit of evidence has to be shared with the defense team. Now, I don't know if this is just kind of the defense is hearing through things through the grapevines, or if they have tangible reasons or validation why they're putting these motions in place. But here's a couple of things that they're saying: that they want the Commonwealth to turn over like any information regarding the compensation for any of their experts, like who's being paid to come and testify of their experts, what they're being paid, any previously undisclosed evidence. So if there is evidence that you haven't already given to us, we're asking for you to give it to us now, formally asking for you to give it to us now. We also want to understand if there have been any promises or inducements, or I'm going to say the word bribes, given to the witnesses. Like, for example, that rumor that Colin has been offered a certain, I guess, brand of watch or something, that if they all wear these watches, they'll give this brand name, I think it's Barstool Sports or something, has them wearing these certain watches. I don't know. It's weird. But it's like, we're now like, product placement in a fucking murder trial. There's obviously, they want to know if there's been like any quid pro quo involved with connection with the case, any of the witnesses or the experts. They want to know if there has been any information or any reason for the Commonwealth to believe that there would be anybody that would change their testimony from the first trial or from the grand jury or from their original police reports. If there is any communication, or either oral, written, any type of indication that there might be witnesses who are refusing or reluctant to testify, if you have any witnesses that are refusing or reluctant to cooperate, this must stem from something. I think the defense, in my opinion, may have gotten wind of somebody is feeling like they don't want to go through this again, or they don't want the pressure or whatever. And that's why I think they're also asking, like, has anyone been induced? Has anyone been paid? Is anyone being compensated? Is there any quid pro quo? Because if you hear that someone is a reluctant witness and then suddenly they show up and they're like, I'm here to testify, you got to believe that there is something that might be enticing them to do that. So those are all motions put forward by the defense. And this is not uncommon. Almost every case, when I covered the Young Thug trial that was here in Atlanta, it was so often that the prosecutor failed to turn over evidence and conversations and text messages and just all kinds of discovery to the defense, to the point where the judge, time and time again, she's like, I'm done with it. I'm done. I've asked you so many times to turn stuff over. She actually required all of the entire DA's office to go back through Brady training, which is law school 101. Like, you learn from the very beginning, every bit of evidence you find, you got to give to the defense. That's the Brady law. She made every single one of them go back through Brady training. So there is a real possibility, as in any case, that in the Karen Read case, that the prosecutor is withholding stuff. And this motion filed by defense was like, we want to just be sure, we want to put it on paper, we're going to ask one more time. We're going to give you one more chance. Have you given us everything? And that means any witness that went into the Norfolk DA's office to do any practice, prep, anything like that. Is there anything you haven't told us yet? So they're one last shot across the bow, and we'll see if the Commonwealth complies. Trial starts on Tuesday. There's a lot of people watching it live. You can watch it live. I think it's probably going to be on like Court TV or something like that. Check in with Googe and Boozy Beauty and Nurse Kim, Jay Megan. A lot of them will probably be watching live and giving you updates throughout the day. I, of course, will come in a couple days later and just give my opinions and talk shit about the Commonwealth, just like I always do. Stay tuned. Happy Easter.